Hello and welcome. I'm Vin Mack. Today, we're going to explore a critical topic: 10 barriers to agricultural development. Agriculture is the backbone of many economies around the world, yet farmers and agribusinesses often face significant obstacles that slow growth, limit productivity, and hamper sustainability. My aim in the next 15 minutes is to walk you through these obstacles, help you recognize them, and most importantly, suggest ideas for overcoming them. So let's dive straight in. Barrier 1: Access to finance. The first major barrier is access to finance. Farmers often struggle to secure loans, credit, or investment to purchase inputs, buy equipment, adopt new technologies, or scale up operations. Without capital, it becomes difficult to move from subsistence or small-scale farming to a viable commercial enterprise. Studies show that a lack of capital is among the most influential constraints to adopting sustainable agricultural practices. Source: MDPI. For example, a farmer may know they need to install irrigation or buy improved seed varieties, but if the bank demands full collateral or the interest rate is prohibitively high, the idea stalls. Overcoming this barrier requires innovative finance models, microloans, blended finance, public-private partnerships, and value chain financing. As a mentor, I often encourage agribusinesses to map their cash flow cycles and build a strong business case for investors. Barrier 2: Land tenure and rights. The second barrier is land tenure and rights. When farmers do not have secure ownership or clear long-term lease arrangements, they are less likely to invest in land improvements, irrigation, or long-term cropping systems. In many places, smallholders cannot use land as collateral for loans or may be at risk of displacement. For example, in Benin, a lack of land title hindered access to credit and investment. Source: Wikipedia. Similarly, unclear rights lead to risk aversion. Why invest in the long term if tenure is insecure? To address this, governments and development agencies must work on land registration systems, enforce lease agreements, and protect the rights of women and youth who often face discrimination in land access. Barrier 3: Infrastructure and logistics. Third, we have infrastructure and logistics. Agriculture doesn't happen in isolation. It depends on roads, storage facilities, market linkages, cold chains, and reliable supply chains. Many regions suffer from weak rural infrastructure, meaning produce spoils before sale, transport costs are high, and input delivery is unreliable. For instance, in Ghana, inadequate road networks hinder the transport of produce from remote farms to the market. Wikipedia. This adds cost, reduces competitiveness, and discourages investment. The solution: concerted investment in rural infrastructure, better maintenance, partnerships with private logistics firms, and using technology, such as IoT or mobile platforms, to optimize supply chains. Barrier 4: Technology and knowledge gaps. Barrier number 4 is the technology and knowledge gap. Modern agriculture increasingly uses precision farming, digital tools, improved seeds, and mechanization, but many small-scale farmers don't have access to these technologies or the training to use them. Research shows that a lack of specialized workforce and technical knowledge are key reasons many don't adopt new sustainable practices. Source: MDPI. In practical terms, a farmer may own a smartphone yet not know how to use a digital app for weather forecasting or market data. Or they might be told about a new seed variety, but lack extension services to adopt it. Overcoming this barrier means investing in capacity building, extension services, farmer training, peer learning networks, and ensuring technologies are adapted to local contexts, not just imported. Barrier 5: Market access and value chains. Fifth, market access and value chains pose a major barrier. Even when farmers produce good crops, they may struggle to reach larger markets, add value, secure fair prices, or connect to export chains. Weak organization of producers, lack of aggregation, poor bargaining power, and dominance of middlemen all limit returns. In Benin, the lack of farmer cooperatives and trust hindered the scaling of marketing efforts. Source: Wikipedia. To combat this, support for farmer-producer organizations, FPOs, training in business development, value addition, processing, packaging, contract farming models, and strengthening of market linkages are vital. Barrier 6, policy, governance, and regulation. The sixth barrier is policy, governance, and regulation. Agriculture often suffers from unclear policies, inconsistent regulation, weak enforcement, or institutional fragmentation. For example, unsupportive subsidy frameworks, ambiguous land use policies, or a lack of recognition of agriculture's importance hamper progress. In one study, the federal policy vacuum in Canada was listed among major issues. Source: Neptis Foundation. Governments must create stable and coherent frameworks, incentives, subsidies aligned to sustainability, transparent land use regulation, streamlined licensing for agribusiness, and institutional coordination. Without this foundation, investments remain risky. Barrier 7, climate change and environmental risk. Number 7, climate change and environmental risk. Agriculture is highly vulnerable to weather shocks, soil degradation, pests and diseases, water scarcity, and changing climate patterns. Studies highlight that soil, resource, and ecological constraints are huge barriers to sustainable agriculture adoption. Source: Frontiers. For example, degraded soils, erratic rainfall, and lack of water infrastructure make farming unpredictable. The response: climate-smart agriculture, resilient crop systems, sustainable land management, irrigation development, early warning systems, and adaptation funding. Barrier 8, input costs and resource constraints. Eighth barrier, input costs and resource constraints. High cost of seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, fuel, water, and labor reduces profitability and limits scaling. Many farmers cannot afford improved inputs or are locked into less productive practices because switching is too expensive. Research on sustainable agriculture emphasizes that investment costs are among the most important barriers. Source: Frontiers. To address this, mechanisms such as input subsidies, cooperative buying, shared machinery, resource-efficient technologies, e.g., drip irrigation, and better supply chain integration can help lower barriers. Barrier 9, social and cultural barriers. The ninth barrier, social and cultural barriers. These include gender inequality, youth disengagement, traditional mindsets, weak farmer organizations, and low participation in decision-making. For example, women farmers often have less access to credit, inputs, and technology. Source: Wikipedia. Also, older generations may resist new methods, communities may lack the trust required for cooperatives, youth may see agriculture as low status. Overcoming this requires inclusive policies, mentoring programs, youth-targeted incentives, community engagement, and changing perceptions around agriculture as a viable business. Barrier 10, youth engagement and labor. Finally, barrier number 10, youth engagement and labor. In many regions, young people migrate out of agriculture because they see limited opportunities, investment risk, poor incomes, or a lack of innovation. Aging farm populations, shortage of skilled labor, and limited generational renewal hamper growth. Studies note that the average age of farmers is rising, and fewer younger people are entering the sector. Source: Neptis Foundation. Addressing this means making agriculture attractive to youth, leveraging technology, creating agripreneur opportunities, access to digital tools, mentorship, startup support, and linking agriculture with modern business models. Conclusion. So there you have it, 10 major barriers to agricultural development. Each one in itself is a challenge, but taken together, they form the environment that many farmers and agribusinesses operate in. The good news? Many of the barriers are addressable. With the right combination of finance, policy, infrastructure, technology, capacity building, and inclusive approaches, we can unlock tremendous agricultural growth potential, especially in countries like Ghana, where I'm based and active. If you're working in agriculture, agribusiness, or rural development, I encourage you to reflect. Which of these barriers resonates most in your context? What can you do differently? What partnerships can you build? If you found this video useful, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more content on agribusiness, rural development, and business coaching, and share this video with colleagues or friends working in farming or agriculture. Leave a comment below. I'd love to hear from you which barrier you think is most urgent in your region. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.